Levels of love. I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Guidance for the Soul Live. And while there are many who will not be partaking of this video live, I will acknowledge those who watch after the recording. It is still valid for those who decide to watch in the presence of my soul versus those who are on the recorded vision of who I am. I want to talk about those levels of love that many start to understand when they go through the process of embodiment of soul. This is where that can be felt first and foremost. Others will say, I can tell the difference between a true love of my heart if they always make me feel good. And this is where it can get a little tricky. Many people tend to forget that loving wisdom doesn't have to hurt, but it can be painful to hear the truth of what is going on in the moment. And we are here to show you examples of what that can be like. For many of us who go to the value system of I love who I am, and then we have others around us who say, I love you too, I just don't like you. That's the nature of the highest of the highs. When we decide that there are those souls around us who are trying to belittle us or to pray for us, thinking that there is a projection of less than that I inhabit upon this field of development. That's where Brenda goes. I can hear people who pray for my soul, or those who say, may God help you. What that means is that those around me are not necessarily in the same vibration that I inhabit, and therefore their own vision of what it's like to be of love is not in alignment with who I am. That's the basics of the understanding of what a love of self and your own soul can give you. When we decide to go to a different level, we're often going to hear messages of love for people who we don't even honor in this plane. And that's something that many will start to understand as they lift themselves up from a place of destruction in the mindset that can be planted there overnight. And I want to talk about this. As I woke up this morning, I inhabited the vision of destruction in my mind. I was told things that were not pleasant, only because that was where I was creating from in the dream state. So what happens when you find yourself in the dream state, creating from a place of destruction of self, right? This can be those ideas of I am no longer feeling like I am who I want to be, and I have to tear apart those visions of those who think that they know what is best for me versus my own ideas of I get to just feel good and beautiful in this plane. That's where soul embodiment comes in. This is where a lot of those ideas that people are throwing out there about who knows what's best for everybody can often be a problem. If you start to have issues with somebody and you're in the vision of love of all, you accept their vision as valid for who they think they are. Most do not know who they truly are on a soul level. You have the wisdom of the ages at your fingertips. Many will start to go into those visions of books or charts or whatnot to see what is going on in the atmosphere versus going into their own hearts and asking themselves, why am I feeling the way that I am if someone is berating me? Did I put myself in that position to be berated, or do I now say I need to lift myself up, plant my seeds in another field of vision, and move on to another, other people will say I use charts. I want to acknowledge those souls that are watching that will use charts or other tools of advancement in their minds to help lift them up and enjoy the ride. That's where many go. We're not going to demean any tools of destruction, are we? How many people say, I'm going to utilize the field of psychology as my grounding point in this reality? That's where Brenda was with a current, it's like friend of a friend. Okay? I utilize psychology as my best friend. I got my degree in it. Am I a master of it? By all means, I would say no. But when I tap into it on a soul level, I can actually hand people their own visions from various levels of understanding. And it is not of the diagnosis of depression. That can be part of it. If we feel depressed when we're around somebody, don't you think that might give us a clue as to what's going on? Either it is my vision of less than that is getting reinforced in my mind, or I am not inhabiting the right plane with that soul. And so I need to lift myself up out of that mindset that I'm in competition or I'm playing out a play with somebody. There are some souls who come here to destroy others' visions. They're very few and far between for the most part. What we have on this plane for the most part is a lack of communication, understanding, and witnessing of others' behaviors versus I'm not going to actually own that as part of my own. I know I could go there with that soul. I know I could do the destruction that many expect from me as a mindset of another level of understanding, from another tool of understanding. I could literally hit below the belt and have people feel horrible about who they are. Or I could lift others up with my own tools of love that say that sometimes, as a therapist might do, you might need to go in and really dig deep into what is going on. Now, if you have a soul session, that's going to be a different sort of vision. This is the soul of soul. This means that your soul wants what's best for you, not what's best for the community at large necessarily, believe it or not. But ultimately, there are those higher levels of vision where we stop that vision right away. It is about the best for all, but it's not saying that what's best for you is somehow detrimental to everybody else. You see, there are those higher levels of understanding that can and will say, lower your level of love enough to feel good about who you are. Some people cannot make it to those higher levels of love. So what you do is you embody your own soul first and foremost. That lifts you up. You feel good. You feel beautiful. And if there are others around you who are saying that you aren't, you have to then be able to disconnect from the beauty of who they think they are, because they are obviously there to show you something about who you are. I need to remove myself from the vibration of competition, jealousy, victim. Did I fall into the trap of I'm a victim? Okay, that's considered a lower level of understanding, but it is very much of an acknowledgement of those souls who do the work to say, I'm not really a victim, am I? Did I let myself feel bad for very long? Or did I acknowledge it and say, thank you for showing me where I myself have some more inner work to do on my self-esteem or my self-confidence? That's not easy for most people to do. When you go to guidance of the soul, you're going to get various perspectives, correct? Mononucleosis. I have people in my heart who have had that vision handed to them multiple times. I'm going to tell you who that is, right? I know people who have been hit with that vibration of an illness. It's a virus. and we don't fear it anymore. That's what someone else is saying. We don't fear that virus anymore in our vibration. Do you want to know how many times I get told as Brenda that I'm beautiful, and yet I stick her with the needle in the arm? I'm giving her the suggestion of either I'm protecting you from those around you who are hit with the virus in their minds, versus those who are saying, I am now telling you this is what's wise for you on the body. She was told the next booster shot she is to receive is in the right arm. That tells you where she's at with her mind. I'm not all that and more is where some people would go, versus the idea that she is not disregarding medicine completely as of yet. But with mono, that is no longer in her vibration, and it won't be. This is also for someone on the screen whose vision of my family comes down with mono quite a bit. It is a virus that is very much widespread in this country and of the globe, but it is not necessarily destructive to it's like our hearts. Lost and found. Other people are very much of the lost and found. People will project those ideas that those who do not know who they are lost. It is part of what we are to do here, which is to find the beauty of who we are without trying to tell somebody else who we think they are. Okay, so most people who will look at others and say you are this or you are that have no idea who is actually connecting with their higher self and who is not. It's not higher than, it's of love of all. That's the vision of love of all, basically. If you feel the deeds of destruction, many people are complaining about the housing crisis. We're going to talk about that at some point. It becomes most illustrious, and it's like the notoriety of those who want to know how to make money in this world. I have visions of financial freedom on my list of things to do as a soul. How many people want to know what that's like when your own soul says financial freedom does not mean I don't own anything? It can be beautiful. On a soul level, we can create mansions in our mind and have it come to us. The limitations that we put on ourselves are for here. Now, that might be the vision of, well, why is it that everyone else is struggling and I'm flourishing? Maybe they're not doing their own heart. Maybe they've decided to utilize someone else's vision as their guide, and that's not necessarily what's best for them. Have you ever once thought that maybe the vision of Christ or of Jesus isn't necessarily in alignment with those of the spiritual mindset that go in and they vibrate in their own vision first and foremost, and they honor the vision of love? And they say, yeah, that's a great vision for a lot of people who were in the mindset of we're slaves. And we need to be lifted up in those words of wisdom. It's all of us who have deemed ourselves to be of less than and not able to lift ourselves up to a higher level of love for all. That's the basics of it. If you can't get there with I love who I am, then you might want to be there in the message of please let this woman be my guide. That's what someone else is going to say. What this means is that many of those, quote, rules and regulations that people follow in this plane are very much of detriment to others in their minds. How is it that one person who flourishes is destructive to another? That's what people are telling people. Now, if there is an intention to hurt people versus I am of greed. So that's where people have to kind of realize it could be sending themselves mixed message messages based on the idea of whose vision of greed am I working with? Is it wrong for me to want to enjoy my life of retirement? Or is it my value system that says that I need to travel the globe to retire when I retire? Others have that as I donate wherever I can, and yet I don't flourish in my donations. It's because there's an expectation of a return on energy. This is where the energy of love goes. We don't expect people to return the energy directly. We just know that we vibrate in the vision of I give freely and I receive as well. That's the nature of it. I'm blessed to receive the wisdom of your hearts. I'm blessed to receive the guidance of your souls. I'm blessed to be part of the heart vision of love of all. What I don't do is demean my own soul's vision in honor of yours. So for those of you who say there's something wrong with someone who is going into that vision of manifesting, as a guide, I would say bless them. They're doing their work. They're already ahead of the game for the most part. How many people say, I want to be on the other side of the veil in my restful spot, feeling good about who I am? How many people know that's just one realm of love? Who says that people that have cash on hand are not loving? How many? There is so many lost souls who are in that vision of I am destroying my own vision of like flourishing in the values. Does it mean that I'm creating from a place of lack, or am I creating a conflict in my mind that I don't deserve to have what I have? Did I put forth the energy, the work, and the love to make it to that next level of adulation for other souls' visions of love? I don't need others to validate my presence in their hearts, do I? These messages are to be replayed for you as well. Basically, if you feel like you have lost your own soul in the vision of guidance, we would say, let the guidance begin. Choose your friends wisely. Choose your own soul's visions wisely. Don't align with others who demean who you are. Many are saying we have lessons to learn here. And in fact, if you go to that place of I don't love everybody, that's one thing. If you go to that place in your heart where you say, I don't miss my family tree very much because they were causing me havoc in my mind, we're going to honor that vision for whoever is on the stage next. So basically, it's almost like I would bring you up on stage and have you sit and watch as I do the magic for your own soul. You see, the tree of life is also another value system that many people are utilizing. Right? That's the beauty of it. Okay, if those systems lift you up and make you feel good, beautiful. But don't deny the vision of guidance for all. Okay, so now Samuel L. Jackson is another soul that I utilize as a soul of a soul of a soul, right? His vision is very high based on the system in which he creates. He also honors his own vibration and the flourishing of his career. It's vast. It's fortunate in his mind. I was fortunate. I can do the work from any soul level. It just depends on where I want to go when I land on that vibration, right? I want to land in the idea of I want to flourish in this realm. I don't need to flounder. How many feel like they are floundering in their vision of I'm doing soul work versus I want to honor it as a beautiful vision for me? If you are not up to the task of love of all, by all means, don't feel like you have to create with that vision. Many just say, I'm going to align with who I am, and then your own soul literally goes to bat for you on other realms. That's the difference. You have to know how to handle the vibrations in which you walk. If you're with a soul that loves you, you're going to get the best experience ever. I could give you so many examples of people who I cherish, and when we create together, it's like night and day. And that's why most people do see themselves realigning themselves with others that they can create with. Okay? And that creation starts to magnify. But that's the beauty, is if you're in the vision of I'm of business, you want to be able to honor people where they are and say, yeah, I can understand. That's where they are. I don't need to try and be who they are. I don't need to try and put myself in their place and somehow empathize with them, because that's not needed for the most part. Many people will say, I'm the empath of the soul and I'm tired of doing that. That's tragic for most people, by the way. You can aim for your sympathetic visions or your empathic visions, but to go in and try to change someone else without the acknowledgement of who they are, that's tragic. But that's what a lot of us try to do. We're trying to make the system work. That's where a lot of people with those ideas of, well, we want to be more empathetic so we can be looked at as the best. It's a higher vision of love that many don't need to be on. And I'm giving you the straight dope. So for those of you who are aligning with that idea of I'm an empath and it makes me feel good, we would say be very careful then where you are in your mind. You want to hit higher vibrational visions of love before you go down that path. Okay? Honor your own heart first and foremost. Love yourself through the visions of Jesus as a soul savior. Anyone that needs that vision is always granted that vision. Whether or not it lifts you to those higher levels of love that you want in this realm is a whole different story. And that's what most people in the spiritual enlightenment camp understand. They're like, I'm of bounty. I'm just going to claim it. I don't need to be afraid of anywhere or anybody. I don't bring that into my vibration. Do you see the differences in the method that people use to align with others versus those who say, I'm a victim of my own mind or of somebody else and I can't get away from them? This is part of the process of loving of all. But when you go to the vision of I need my guidance handed to me, like right away, we would say, if you have a problem with who you are, don't necessarily look out at somebody else as a cause of your discomfort. Go in and ask yourself, why am I fearful of this other soul, or why am I afraid of who I am? If I am afraid of somebody else's vision of they are attacking me or they're going to hurt me, that might be your guidance system saying you need to get way far away from those people. Now, I've had certain souls that I love who claim they were victims, who decided they were never going to make the steps necessary to get out of the situation. So I then created a vision for them out of the blue, right? No, their soul came through trying to, it's like create the vision of love between two souls that is honoring of who we are and honoring of where everyone is and saying, where can we meet? Can we meet in the middle? That's another strategy that many will utilize in trying to placate other souls. At some point, those placating visions go away. We just go away. We don't vibrate with people. That's where most people in the spiritual enlightenment zone go. They say, we don't align with people who make me feel less than. who try to demean who I am in my mind or in my body. You see, many people are actually vibrating in the vision of I'm putting on armor to defend myself against the world as we know it. Those souls who are trying to change the way that we are so that we can somehow feel better in our vibration by numbing ourselves to the daggers that others are placing upon our hearts. Do you want to know how it feels to hear those daggers from certain souls? And then to say, I have to lift myself out of the vision of who they are on this realm. That's the biggest challenge I want people to understand, is that that's where your own soul's vibration is very, very critical in lifting yourself up to the I don't need to be with anybody else's soul in order to feel good about who I am. That's the strength of self-love. Adoration for our own hearts is where that goes. And we want you to feel that. You're not feeling that lately. You're not feeling like your own soul is the best for you. How many people know that? How many people are continually looking outside of their heart, trying to say, why am I not hearing the beauty from within? And that's when you start to realize, I'm connected to the all, and I'm just not letting others go. It's a letting go process that some of you are struggled with. I hang on to the memories of my past. This is those messages of love of the now. And when you repeat that vision, you start to realize that those who live in the past are often recreating tragedy in their minds. We ignore the visions, correct? Your own soul will only bring you what's needed for you to then enlighten you to the experience that someone else may have had. Does it do us any harm to hear another soul's vision of what they align with, which is, I want to be honest with you? Does that honesty actually help us? On a soul level, your soul will give you the honesty. What you have to then say is, what do I do with that honesty? It can hurt. And that's why many utilize those other tools, because they say we are honoring of those souls that actually love who we are here. Because I still ground myself in the vision of I'm here, and I am here to lift myself up to another level of understanding. I don't have to leave this plane to feel good, is where we're headed. Okay, that's what everyone needs to know. I get to feel good here as well as when I am with my own hearts on a soul level. And that's where most people land. They're trying to feel good here versus I'm lifting myself up into a higher level of love, and I have to align with those who are with me in that vision of it. That's the nature of what church is supposed to be doing. We go to this place of worship and we lift ourselves up and we all feel beautiful in who we are. But once that vision becomes destroyed by other people, right? It's not a target on anyone's back. But that's literally that idea of we're creating places of worship of someone else. That's a whole different area of concern that many are going to start to understand at some point. When you go to soul, you have to think about, who am I saying is better than me and why? Now, if you connect with those higher levels of visions and they are brought to you, that's a beautiful thing. Brenda gets told all the time, Jesus is there, now Jesus is left. It's about where she is in her strength. And if she needs a little boost, sometimes she will call upon certain value systems that honor her where she's at. I don't need to hear it's like the vibration of an archangel as of yet. Okay? I don't need to hear the vibration of Jesus every day, do I? That's where Brenda is in her mind when she's utilizing a certain book, right? Because it's part of the vision of what was created. But it's not for her for the most part. And so when she lets go of it, she is realizing that her own soul is her best friend. Literally her best friend. And she gets told that, I'm your best friend. I'm with you always. I love you for who you are. And I'll never leave your side. Because that's what it feels like when you embody your heart. Your own soul knows what's best. We are souls vibrating in the beauty of not just who we are here, but in the vibration of a higher dimensional understanding of who we are. And you get more and more of those souls also that it's like part of your soul group that like beats with you. And you start to hear messages of love from those who understand you and want to be a part of your vision. Not those that say, I don't have anything to do but be the beautiful person that I am. And if I happen to kill people in the vibration of it, too bad. Right? That's the nature of a lower level of understanding. Most people who go to the vision of I'm of the high would never take up a weapon against anybody or any soul, which includes the vision of soul. It's the animals of the world that many are going to have a struggle with because it means that their own ideas are being challenged. It's not meant to be disregarding of those of hunting, but those who carry weapons of destruction in their minds are definitely being labeled as less than, but it is a vibration that you honor. And you say, we honor your vision of I'm doing this country a service by controlling the population of certain animals. And in essence, it's a nature versus nurture vision. We're going to talk about that at some point. For those who do actually honor the vision of of entertainment. Okay, so with this vision, I want to start to go into the idea that many are thinking their guidance isn't coming through, but it very much can be. It is not saying that you are less than. We just allow for ourselves to enjoy whatever we enjoy here, and that vision of if it's not hurting somebody. And we don't mean in the mind. If you're going after someone in your mind, you might want to think about what that might be doing, not only to that other soul, it's to you. That's the nature. Whatever you're putting out there is whatever you're inviting back. Okay, so if you're fighting for freedom, guess what kind of vibration that is? It's a struggle. We don't fight for freedom. We just embody the freedom that we expect to come to us. But this country is now of the idea of we have to fight everybody for it. Or we have to fight within this country for it. Do you think that's the level of freedom that most people want? Right? Some people have to claim that they have to fight for their freedoms. But what that does is it brings more of that fighting into our hearts, right? There's a different value system that people want to go to versus the idea that I have to fight. Fighting can be necessary for certain souls. When you go to a different level, we start to understand who is claiming that they are not free and what is it that they actually feel is of freedom for them, right? Because if you have the vision of I want to be free of government control, you're losing the battle guaranteed with that one. Government control is part of the answer for some. But do we actually inhabit a system in which everyone is responsible in their visions of how to be in this world? Or would we have those souls now going back to those visions of man versus man. Okay? Most people are still needing guidance in how to be in order to stop, right? Or is it that we're conditioned now to be fighters? Do we fight for everything? Do you see the vibrational shift in that? I'm fighting for my soul. That's where some people go. Other people will say, I have to lift myself up and I be in the beauty of who I am. I don't need to fight for anything. It just comes to me. That's where Brenda is. I let the beauty come to me. I own it and I accept whatever comes to me. I see the beauty of who I am. I see the beauty of who you are. Do you not understand that our own places of worship are turning into battlefields? So, this is why when we go on the screen, we allow for ourselves to say, I love who I am. And this is what everyone who watches this should be reinforcing in their own minds. I love who I am. If you do not feel like you are loving of your own soul, then you must start to recreate that vision of, I need to reinforce that in my mind first before I go to another. It's like, go to another field of vision that loves who you are, says that you're amazing, and doesn't doubt that for 1 minute. That doesn't doubt the beauty of who you are. That sees you as a beautiful soul expression, whether you align with their vibration or not. The flickering in Brenda's mind, it's looked at as a eye flicker, is one in which you will also start to experience when you start to move to different levels of enlightenment. It's a soul vision that's there to help people understand what's happening. You don't always align with the highest in your mind, Brenda. That's what her soul was saying. And in those visions, then other people assume, well, I'm going to aim for another and receive those visions of greatness. Excuse her. The visions of greatness are where many operate from, of power, of wisdom. How many people think power is a bad word? Power is the will of an impulse, right? It's the impulse to be. That's all. It's the strength of those words. It's the honesty and the heartfelt souls are often left behind because they open their hearts to those who are not on the same field of vision. I want to make money. Now, is that to be seen as a process or as a project? Okay, we're going to talk about that in another level of soul vision. But for now, I want to say thank you to everyone. You're going to see a difference in the visions of guidance for the soul versus channel for the soul. And those visions are very much coming together as a beautiful expression. There's an honesty in the moment of the more people that come on live are going to start to see their visions come forth. It may not be wise if you're having a struggle, right? Don't worry about that. Brenda rises up in her moments so that she is not of judgment or of critique of who you are. She just assumes you are of less than, right? That's what other people are going to assume, because they're going to say, oh, but when you get to the love of all, in essence, she's always tapped in always connected. That's her soul. So her soul can bring her those higher levels of vision. Does she have to vibrate with Jesus in order to prove her worth? Absolutely, says some people. Others would say, what do you mean? Why would I assume that I wasn't with the all? That's where you all are. You just don't realize it yet. Now, with that vision of love of all, that's a whole different story. So that's why there's going to be different visions for those souls who want to just aim for their own heart and their own soul, because that one takes you high. And then you get there and everyone feels good, okay? You feel good when you're with your own soul. You don't feel like you're trying to handle someone else's vision for them. It can be a little tricky, but it's a beautiful expression. And then that's when you realize my soul is always high. That's the nature of a friend who knows that her vision says, I'm always in the mindset of I'm of love of all. I just don't like you. And that's the nature of where she goes. In her mind, some people will say various things, and then they'll say, oh, okay. So that vision is given to many to help ease the discomfort of what love actually feels like for all, which is basically that nature of a self-respect and an honoring of, if I love myself, I'm assuming everyone else loves who they are. They're still vibrating in the beauty of it, correct? That's the ultimate expression of love. I'm here. Right? I am. That's the loving vision of, Christ as he was. Now, as we move into another field of vision, I'm going to say thank you for watching. I want to honor your hearts, your love, your souls, and your guidance, because we all guide each other. It doesn't mean we all honor each other in our minds, but our hearts are always connected. So take care and have a beautiful, beautiful day.